Alright, hello. Welcome back to WWF No Mercy. Last time we captured the Intercontinental Championship with Kurt Angle. And this time we are going to take on the Light Heavyweight Championship. And we're going to do it, as I said, with a created superstar, an independent wrestler by the name of Disilluzn, with a Z, based on a friend of mine. Now, I wanted to do an episode focused entirely on the Create a Wrestler feature, and I recorded it, but the Create a Wrestler mode in No Mercy is long and intricate, and I didn't think it really made for the most compelling possible episode, but I did record it, and I have posted it as sort of a bonus accompaniment to the series. So if you'd like to see how the Create a Wrestler sausage is made, you can find that video. But for now, you'll just need to know the Disilluzn is a light heavyweight, which means I gave him a bunch of flippy floppy moves, and he does a double arm DDT as a finisher, a move he calls the Mind Game. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, Chapter 1. Now, with the Intercontinental Championship, we started by calling out the champion, Chris Benoit. For the light heavyweight title, Dean Malenko, the light heavyweight champion, will call us out, as he uses his power as champion, I guess, to declare that we're going to have a number one contenders match. It's going to be a four-way match, including us. Now, these our three opponents will run into several more times over the course of this series, so I won't spend too much time talking about each one of them. Eddie Guerrero, we already know, from the IC title, of course. Here we are. Our dramatic entrance, which as with all entrances in No Mercy, is just a pose. Now representing the team of Too Cool, we'll have Grandmaster Sexay. Don't worry, we'll get to the story behind the name. Now, Eddie Guerrero at this point was still considered sort of between light heavyweight and heavyweight. He won WCW's light heavyweight championship, the Cruiserweight championship, several times, but he would spend most of his WWF run as a heavyweight, largely because, as we'll talk about, they kind of forgot about the light heavyweight championship. And here's Taka Michinoku, half of the tag team Kai and Tai, who are so important that the two of them have to share a character space in No Mercy. Alright, so we remember from before, in a four-way match, it's last man standing. Once you get pinned or you submit, you're eliminated, and the last one standing will win, which makes them longer but considerably more palatable than triple threat matches, which is one fall to a finish. Let's see here if we can get any of those flippy moves that we gave Disilluzn. He'll have to get up first. So this would be a good chance, I suppose, to talk about the Light Heavyweight Championship itself, which technically I believe dates back to the 80s, when it was the Junior Heavyweight Championship. But the the WWF has never really cared that much about smaller guys. You know, historically, the WWF has been a place that liked bigger, big, strong, larger-than-life type people. Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant types. So light heavyweights never really got much of a fair shake. That junior heavyweight championship, as I believe I read somewhere, they loaned it to a promotion in Japan in the 80s and then forgot about it. Until the 90s, when their rivals, WCW, started making money with light heavyweight wrestlers with their cruiserweight championship, including Eddie Guerrero. The WWF in 1997 decided they needed to get in on that action. The only drawback was by that time WCW had already signed away all the good light heavyweights. So when they brought back the light heavyweight championship in 97, crowning actually Taka Michinoku, the guy I'm choking to death with my boot right now, as the light heavyweight champion. The division never really took off, mostly because A, like I said, WCW had all the good light heavyweights, and B, the WWF never really invested that heavily in them. That's a nice move. I always like doing that. The bell, of course, accompanies any and all low blows in WWF No Mercy. Yeah. Ah. It's a monkey flip. Well, I was going to do some flippy moves, but Eddie Guerrero ruined it. Breaker, let's go to the top rope. Nope. Some of those chops I promised. Oh. Disilluzn loves jumping over the ropes. Oh, I wasn't paying attention and Eddie Guerrero got eliminated. Well, that's surprising. So now we're down to the three of us. I noted earlier that Taka Michinoku was crowned the light heavyweight champion in 97. When they brought it back, he defeated Grandmaster Sexay to win the tournament. Of course, he wasn't called Grandmaster Sexay back then. He was called Brian Christopher. I guess we'll talk about Too Cool. So, Brian Christopher was supposed to be the heavy, in the sense of that he was a villain in the light heavyweight division. A spot he earned, as far as I can tell, solely because he was the son of legendary commentator Jerry the King Lawler. He wasn't very good, he wasn't very entertaining, but there he was. But for the reasons I said before, the light heavyweight division never really took off. So with nothing much better for him to do, they stuck him in a tag team with another light heavyweight, Scott Taylor. And Brian Christopher's gimmick at the time was that his nickname was Too Sexy. It was Too Sexy Brian Christopher. And Scott Taylor became Too Hot Scott Taylor. And they were the tag team of Too Much. And they were this sort of latently homosexual tag team. They never came out and said that they were gay, but it was clear there was something else happening there, to the point where I think they actually wanted to make them an openly gay tag team and have them get married on TV. But they scrapped that, and eventually, once they scrapped that, they changed the name from Too Much to Too Cool, which didn't really make any more sense, but and then they sorry, I got distracted by doing my finisher there. Let's see if that's enough to finish poor Taka. Except I hit the wrong button. There we go.
1, 2, 3, eliminate.
All right. Now it's just you and me, so I can finish your story. They changed, like I said, they changed from too much to too cool. And then they started doing a gimmick where they would, and this is classic WWF, we don't know what to do with this guy storytelling. They started doing a thing where they would dress up as their opponents to make fun of them. And one week, to make fun of aging gangster tag team Public Enemy, they started dressing up with ridiculous parachute pants and goggles and caps, and gave themselves ridiculous hip-hop names. Too Hot Scott Taylor became Scotty Too Hottie, and Too Sexy Brian Christopher called himself Grandmaster Sexay. And because in wrestling only the dumbest ideas catch on, it caught on, and that sort of became their permanent name and gimmick, as that was probably a good year at least before this, and Scotty's still wearing the dumb pants and calling himself Grandmaster Sexay. But ridiculously, that actually caught on, and they were a phenomenally popular team at this point. Brian Christopher eventually got fired for getting caught trying to bring marijuana across the Canadian border. So that's the sordid end to his story. So we're softening him up for the kill. Get a nice Hurricane Rana. Up to the top, and the Phoenix Splash. That's the flippy shit. And we win. And we are therefore the #1 contender for the Light Heavyweight Championship. It's just that simple. See? We're not going to have to do any of the weird shenanigans we had to do while we were chasing Benoit, right? Easy $500. Chapter 2, #1 contender. And here we are on SmackDown, and we're going to get our title shot. The Iceman, Dean Malenko, man of 1,000 holds. A man of his word. And there couldn't possibly be any shenanigans in this match, right? We're gonna have a visitor here in a second, so I'll talk about Dean Malenko while I still have the chance. Dean was another. Dean, in addition to Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko was one of those WCW light heavyweights that we were talking about. Dean was famous for being an excellent wrestler. There's Eddie Guerrero. We remember Eddie was a stooge for Benoit while we were chasing the IC title. Here he fills a similar role for Dean Malenko, which makes sense, as Malenko and Guerrero were, along with Benoit and Perry Saturn, part of the team, the Radicals. But Malenko's gimmick was that he was, and this is crazy for a professional wrestler, But Malenko's gimmick was that he was a really good professional wrestler. He called himself the man of 1,000 holds. And yeah, that was his whole thing, that he was a better wrestler than you. Which was good because he was a better wrestler than most people, but he was never very good with the whole charisma, talking, acting part of the job. He was very good at what happened after the bell rang, but all of the extracurricular stuff was never really his strong suit. Hence his other nickname, the Iceman. He did wonderful things in WCW. He had some great feuds, particularly one with Chris Jericho that did a lot of great things for both of them. But I think he was a little bit maybe past his prime when they made the jump to WWF, and he never really got to the same level of success. I think he retired not more than a year or two after they made the jump, and I believe he's a trainer now for WWE. So, I'm about to lose. That is apparently Dean Malenko's rear finisher, and it's enough to finish me off. That's the thing about outside interference in this game. They don't have to do that much damage. They basically just have to keep you distracted while your actual opponent fills their attitude meter to the point where they can hit you with their finishing move. Dean Malenko's actual finishing move is a submission hold, the Texas Cloverleaf. But computer doesn't like to use submission moves very much in this game because they don't work. Well, that is disappointing. Well, we get no money for that, and we get no light heavyweight championship. But as we saw last time, this is merely the first step. Next time, we will resume our path for the light heavyweight championship with revenge. So join me next time when we're going to get more light heavyweight wrestling action. We're going to wrestle in a parking lot. We're going to wrestle in a pool hall. And we're going to talk about how even in video games, wrestling storyline continuity makes absolutely no sense. Thanks for watching.